All right, welcome back, everybody. July the 12th, Monday Morning Briefing, episode number 39. Coming up close to the 40th episode of the Monday Morning Briefing, and I can't believe we've kept it going this long. But everybody seems to really like it, so we always try to make a point to get it done if we can. I've got quite a bit going on this morning. I've actually been doing email responses and stuff. I was out of the shop pretty much all weekend, and so I had a lot of correspondence, if you will, to try to get back to and try to take care of some folks and do that. So I tried to get that done this morning, but the wife and kids aren't here at the shop yet this morning, so I'm gonna go ahead and shoot this really quick before they get here, because when my two kids are running around the shop, there's no way I can shoot any video unless you want to hear them screaming and squabbling. First thing is, last week we did a duck hunting scene, or a duck dog scene on a belt. On our Instagram page, we posted a picture of that. We can't post all of the pictures of the different scenes that we did on that belt because I think it's for a gift. And I'm not sure if the recipient of that gift is following us on Instagram or YouTube or anything else. I can't show you a lot of that belt here, but if you go back to my Instagram page, you'll see a picture of that. We got a lot of questions about that as far as doing a video on more of the figure carving stuff, and a lot of people were interested in how I did that. I'm not an expert figure carver. There's guys out there that focus on that. If you're wanting to see some more of that type of work, I would suggest looking at Britt Nance's stuff. He's on Facebook. I don't know if he's on Instagram or not, but I know he's on Facebook. I don't believe he's got a website or anything, but Britt Nance would be somebody that I would check out. Also, Peter Main. Peter Main does some amazing figure carving, really small work, really highly detailed work, and then also adds color to that and really brings it to life. And there's a lot of guys out there. I'm probably forgetting some of the main ones that do a lot of stuff. As far as the Saddle World, Rick Bean has also done a lot of stuff with figure carving on his saddle work. But if you're interested in figure carving, then I would certainly suggest kind of perusing Instagram, or kind of getting out and about and trying to find out who all kind of focuses on that, because that is a completely different type of tooling than the actual floral. And I kind of treat it that way when I'm doing a belt. I'll usually do the figure carving scenes, whether they're, hunting scenes or just different figures or whatever we're doing. I'll do those separately, and then I'll come back after the fact and do the floral and kind of put that in. But I will try to do a video and show you what little I know about it. I'm learning that part, and so I want to thank everybody that really liked that picture and thought it was good and sent me messages and stuff on it. I really appreciate that. I feel like I'm still learning on that aspect of it, because there's so much to learn as far as the figure carving. It's a completely different type of tool work. Also had a lot of people ask if we're going to offer that as a pattern, or if it is available as a pattern. On those type of belts, I do each one of those belts independently, and each one's kind of different, each one's unique, and I do that for each client, and that way their belt is special and it's kind of their deal. But I may put out maybe a booklet or something where we can do something on adding figure work like that to a belt, because on a belt it's really challenging because you only have a 1-inch tooling window thereabouts, and so it doesn't leave you a whole lot of room. So you've got to get very creative on your composition and how you set those figures in there in order to get that depth of feel and how everything kind of lays in and perspective and stuff. So it's very complicated, but we'll maybe try to do a video or maybe a booklet or something to where we can kind of venture off and begin to start teaching a little bit of that. Like I said, I've still got a lot to learn about that stuff, so I make no claims to be an expert figure carver, but I do know a little bit about it from what I've just kind of hashed around and figured out for myself. But this weekend, like I said, I wasn't in the shop much at all. This weekend I was here just a little bit. Yesterday morning before we went to church, actually went to a little church here some friends of ours go to, so we went and checked that out, and then went and ate lunch, and then went home, and we just had to do a bunch of yard work, cleaning the house, doing some different things. So we just kind of took the day off and focused on that and clean out the barn and stuff. And we did have a show on Saturday, and my little boy opted not to show this time. He said he would rather play, so he played nice and hard all day long, and my little girl showed her heifer and did really well. She did win grand in one of the classes, so she was really stoked about that. But all in all, it was a good day. My mom came out, and we just hung out all day long and got home fairly early. We got home about 4 o'clock, so that left the rest of the afternoon to just kind of relax and get some dinner, and everybody was ready for bed early after a whole day in the sun and the barn and stuff showing. But it was a good weekend. We had a lot of fun. I didn't get a lot done in the shop, unfortunately. But last week I got a bunch of parts cut. We got the saddles. I got a ground seat in that one roping saddle, which, like I said, it doesn't look a whole lot different yet. But I've got the cantle back and the swell cover cut out for one of those saddles, so we're going to go ahead and try to get those on first of this week so that that's done. I'm pushing to try to get at least one of these done before Waco, but I don't know if that's going to happen. That's usually the way the shop goes. It's like if I've got a trip planned or something else, it kind of ends up kind of causing a pile up there right before we end up leaving on stuff that I wish I had gotten finished before we left. But we also got a couple more rope bags started. So I'm not going to show you all of this, both of them yet, because one of them is a gift and one of them is not very far along, and I'm not sure if he wants his name plastered on our YouTube video, but it'll end up being on here anyway when it's done. But this is one we're doing for a really good customer of ours that has purchased a few of our saddles over the years and stuff, and he's now upgraded. He wants to get a nice custom rope bag. This one will be almost identical, not tooling wise and everything, but as far as the build, it's going to be the exact same as the one we did, the double compartment that we did the video on. You can go back and check that out. It's going to be basically exactly the same as that. The other one that I'm doing is actually going to be a single compartment rope bag, and I might do it with just one shoulder strap instead of the two straps on the front. I haven't quite decided yet exactly how I'm going to do that. But a single compartment rope bag is not any more difficult or less difficult than a double. It's just less material, and it goes together a little bit more quickly. But the tooling's the same, all that kind of stuff. I had a couple people email me pictures of some rope bags that they're working on, and that's great that they were able to get enough information out of that video to actually try to build a rope bag. Like I said, guys, they're not really super difficult. They're just large. So more important than anything is the measurements. And hopefully we'll have a pattern pack for those at some point. Like I said, we'll probably do one with one floral pattern on there, just because that's a lot of tooling. So when we do it, it'll probably be like, if you want to build this bag, here's this pattern, this bag, here's this pattern. We'll do a few different ones with different style tooling, but they'll all be separate. Speaking of patterns, I want to thank everybody that bought the Buckhorn briefcase pattern. Like we said last week, it was sold out. We got all those shipped out. Everybody should be getting those or have gotten their pattern already. We've got a list going. A lot of people have been emailing or calling and getting on that list. So when they get here, I was honestly expecting those patterns here Tuesday or Wednesday of last week, but I ended up talking to the printers, and the biggest part on those is the folding. So they've got to get them all folded and packed, because we pay them to package them or stuff the envelopes and stuff. So that's the only real thing that takes any time. But they didn't get it done last week, having a holiday and stuff. They weren't able to get them out on Friday. So by the end of the week, we didn't have them. I really expected to see them, but we should see them today or tomorrow here in the shop. So if you're on that list, if you've talked to me or I've emailed, or you've emailed me and I've responded, you are on the list. And as soon as they get here, we will get with you and get those headed out your way. And then we will upload what's left onto the website. The way the list is looking now, I'm going to go ahead and email them this morning to go ahead and do another 100, because they're quickly selling out this next run as well, based on my list. So I'm sure once they're on the website, they'll go pretty quickly as well. And so that's great. I'm really excited that everybody's getting the patterns. Remember now, if you got the first run, there is a correction in there. There's a little piece of paper that tells you what that correction is. On this next run, there are no corrections. Everything should be correct on there. If you do notice something, be sure and let me know so that we'll know, because it's real simple now with those. It's just a digital file. We can go in there and make a change if we need to, if something's not just quite right. But remember, when you build that bag, do your gussets like I talked about in the video. Leave them alone and kind of fit those. The measurement on the pattern is right for the material and the tightness that I pulled that gusset and everything. If you do it a little different or a different material, that could change. You always want to leave yourself a little bit of room. Somebody had emailed us today, over the weekend or something, and it asked about my felt marker edge die applicators. And this is one of them here. It's just got a big felt tip on the end, and you actually unscrew this top and you just put whatever dye color you want in there, and then you're able to dye your edges. And these actually work really good. I had a good friend of mine, Fred, that brought these over to me. Just brought me a couple. He had bought some, and he said, here, give these a shot, see what you think about them, because he knows I use the daubers and stuff. We've actually been using these a lot. They're actually really handy. I like them. They're clean. They're easy to work with. They're a little messy when you go to refill them, so just be prepared. You're going to get dye on your hands. There's no way around that, especially with Fibeing's new top on their bottles, which is very shallow and drives me crazy, but you can't hardly pour out of that bottle without making a complete mess. But these markers are really, really neat. I think he got these on Amazon. Aaron sells them as well at Maker's Leather Supply. If you want to try a couple of these, they're not real expensive, but I would assume they'd last forever till that felt thing gets kind of worn down to where it's kind of cumbersome. But It works great. I love it. I've got one for black and one for brown. That's what I use for doing my dye. I don't use it on everything on my skirts and stuff. I'll still use a dauber just because that's what I'm used to. And so when it comes to saddles, I'm kind of hard to change on some things. So I just kind of leave things the same. And the same gentleman also asked about my rivet domer. Now, I'm not really sure if he's asking about my rivet setter, which this is a CS Osborne rivet setter. You can buy these. Weaver sells them. You can probably call Osborne and get them. You can find them kind of in old tool collections and stuff really easily. It's got a hole on one side for driving the bird down, and then it's got a domer on this side that's for peening. I don't really call that a domer. It's more of a peening deal or something, but it's made for once you get the bird driven all the way down, and then you clip off the excess, leaving yourself maybe an 1/8 inch to 3/16 of an inch sticking up. Then you use this side to peen that or roll that over to where it's bigger, where that burr won't pop off. As far as the domer, I don't have a domer. So this is what I use for my domer. And I'm surprised if this is what the guy's actually asking about as far as my doming the head of the rivets, not the burr side. I'm surprised it's the first time that question has ever come up, or the first time I've seen it. But I don't own a domer. So maybe in Waco, I'll try to buy a domer so that I have an actual tool that's proper for the job. But when we were in the shop, I had guys working in the shop, there was a man there that worked for us that had a domer. So we never needed one. We just used his. He kept it on the bench and we used it. When he left, I didn't have one, and I got used to doming my rivets. So what I ended up finding was a 3/8 nut driver. And that's what this is. It's just a little small 3/8 nut driver for driving screws or whatever, but it actually works perfect for doming the rivet heads. Aside from it's so short, so when you dome, you've got to really keep your fingers out of the way when you're hitting that. But it actually works good. So if you don't have a domer or don't want to spend I don't even know how much they are, 50, 75 bucks for a domer, I'm not sure. If you don't want to spend that kind of money, those are the kind of little things that you can do to get you by until later and spend that money better spent somewhere else on a tool that you actually do need, because doming a rivet isn't mandatory. It just really makes it look better, and it kind of helps that rivet from pulling through that leather over time, because the bottom side of a rivet is kind of beveled, and so when you dome it, you're kind of clenching that head down to where now it's grabbing and causing force down to where it won't just pull through the leather as easy. But it's not a mandatory thing. But if you want to dome them, you can get by with a 3/8 inch nut driver like this. You could probably sacrifice one and put an extension on it or something and weld it up. That way you've got a taller handle. I didn't want to sacrifice this one because I knew at some point I'll run across a domer or order me one. I just never think about it. The only time I think about ordering a domer is when I'm setting rivets. Outside of that, it never crosses my mind. So, but I think in Waco, I'm going to check it out and see who's got some nice domers, and I'll probably buy one just so that we have one. But yeah, I'm surprised that's the first time at all the videos we've done, because I've been using this since we started doing YouTube videos, and I've never had anybody ask what this little tool was, but that's what it is, 3/8 inch nut driver. But anyway, I want to thank that fella for sending us a message. I don't know if I'm supposed to mention people's names on Facebook, on YouTube, or in our videos or not. So if you send me a question, you don't mind me mentioning your name, put it in there. You can mention my name or don't mention my name, whatever. I never know, so I'll just be safe and not mention people's names. But you know who you are if you ask those questions. Thank you for sending them to me, because those are actually really good, good topics to kind of go over. We didn't have a podcast last week. Mr. Producer is out gallivanting all over the country, on vacation, family time, stuff like that. So no podcast last week, but he does have a few he's working on. So hopefully this week we'll get one out. We're not really that worried about it. We're not going to pressure him. We're not going to crack the whip on him and get him to hustling, because we might take a vacation too at some point. So, but anyway, we'll keep watching that. We've got a few. The last one was Chuck Storms, and I really enjoyed that podcast. It was fun. If you haven't listened to it yet, or you haven't been on Lost Trade for a little while, you've probably missed a few episodes. Hop back on there and listen to the Chuck Storms episode. That episode was really enlightening and really interesting. Anytime you can get to visit with somebody that's been doing a craft, whatever the craft is, for that long, and you get to get some of that wisdom and some of that experience, it's really enlightening, and it's very helpful, especially if you're doing it full time, because you get to look at a man like that and look at his history and his work and kind of where he came from and the struggles he went through and the things he did and where he's sitting now. And it kind of gives you just a little bit more perspective to know if what you're doing now is correct, or where you can kind of make some adjustments in your career, or make some adjustments in your way of thinking or your pricing or whatever it might be. And I find that that's really helpful. And I really enjoyed that interview. Starting to get a real good collection of some guys that have a lot of history in the craft, as well as some young guys. And one neat thing would be possibly like listen to one episode with like a young guy, like say Odin or Ben Geisler or something like that. Somebody's doing it professionally, but they're really young in the craft. And then right after that one's over, listen to somebody that's got more history in the craft, like Chuck Storms or Jeremiah Watt or even Wilson Capper. And I'd consider him kind of, he's encroaching into the longer history of the craft. He's been doing it for quite some time. But you listen to those guys kind of visit, and you can kind of compare the two conversations and where they are on their journey through the craft. And I think that's really interesting. And then it's just kind of some of the trends that are going through some of these interviews are really fun. Flies. Got a lot of flies in the shop, and I don't know why. There's a lot of flies all over town. There's flies everywhere. We've got them at the house. It's understandable. We've got a barn with livestock in there getting fed and stuff and pooping everywhere. So that's understandable to have flies in there. But even at my mom's house, she's a clean freak. Her house is spick and span all the time, nothing out of place. She still has flies. There's just a bad fly situation. And the mosquitoes too. They say it's because of the freeze that did something. I don't know. I was hoping it would kill all the mosquitoes and all the bugs, but it did not. Apparently it made everything worse. But plus all this rainfall we're getting, that may have something to do with it. But anyway, you don't care about that. You don't have flies where you live. This week we're just waiting on the patterns. We're working on stuff. We're going to be cleaning some saddles. We've got a bunch of repair we're kind of working on. I've got some broke down that we're going to kind of move forward on. We've had a few people email about the cleaning video, the clean, oil, and polish videos. There's 3 videos to that series, and it shows you my complete cleaning and saddle cleaning and oiling process. And a lot of people have been really putting that to use and kind of starting up a little side part of their business. One gentleman from pretty good ways up north on the East Coast, he's actually he said there's nobody around there that does any kind of saddle repair, clean, or conditioning. And he started doing some saddle repair recently and just got into doing some general repairs on Western saddles. And he watched those videos and he said, now I'm fixing to get started cleaning and conditioning saddles for other people. And that's the deal. That cleaning and conditioning of saddles is actually really profitable. And if you price it correctly, then you should be really good. It's hard money as far as like it's a lot of sweat just because it's just hard work is all it is. But there's not a lot of materials in there. Plus you get the opportunity to find other issues that somebody may not see because they're just riding their saddle. And most people only look at the on side of their saddle. They're hardly ever on the other side. So they don't notice some things. So that's a good kind of opportunity for you to kind of check people's stuff out for them, and they feel a little bit of security because somebody's been through it. And if you notice something broke, you can offer to fix it right there and stuff. So cleaning saddles is just kind of a good little fill space. It's a good little side service to offer in your business because it doesn't take a lot of material. It's not going to eat up on your material that you're ordering for your custom stuff, but it'll allow you to make some fairly easy money other than just the sweat and dirt and grime and everything else of cleaning them. But if you don't mind doing that, you can make some pretty good little extra money. Maybe pay your light bill and your rent or whatever you got as far as for your shop. Our repair business paid for 90% of the bills for our shop for years and years when we did way more repair than I do now. And we had a couple part-time repair guys that were college kids that would come in and they'd knock that out. And they were learning leather work, and occasionally they got to build something new for that used saddle that they were working on. So that was a good learning experience for them. So don't knock repair. But if you don't have time for it, I completely understand. I probably don't have time for it, but I still do it on a limited basis just because I feel bad turning people away. But we're going to go ahead and just get back at it. We've got a busy week. Not a whole lot going on this week and this weekend. We're kind of off this weekend, which is good because next weekend is the Jamboree here in Moulton, Texas. So if you're going to be in the area or you're coming down to this area or going to be around, I think it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or maybe just Saturday and Sunday. Go on to Moulton Chamber of Commerce. You'll find a link to the Jamboree, but it'll be a big deal. And it's going to be pretty cool. They have barbecue cook-off. I think they usually have a carnival. They have a bunch of vendors. They have a dance, tractor pull. They have a lot of stuff going on. It'll be pretty neat. And like I said, maybe the mullet contest thing. Who knows? We're going to be doing stuff with that all weekend long, and so that'll eat up that weekend. But this weekend we got off, so I'm hoping to make some progress, kind of get our game plan for Waco, get everything kind of sorted out. We may be bringing stuff and cutting stuff only for Waco because we don't really know how we're going to handle that yet and how much stuff we're going to take. So if you're going to be at Waco, then great. Whatever's there, we'll certainly be putting stuff on social media. Somebody asked if I'd do some video while I was in Waco for those that can't come. I may try to. I just don't know how weird that's going to be if there's this big, tall, bearded man walking around with a video, with a little GoPro filming everybody. So I don't want to be intrusive. So I probably won't do too much of that, but we might do a few little, stories and stuff like that. Shout outs and things while we're there. But between now and then, we've got a little bit of time, so we're just going to try to hustle up in the shop and get some things done, get some things cut out and ready to go. But I really want to thank you guys for being a part of the channel. We just broke 55,000 subscribers today, and so that's kind of a big milestone for us here in the shop, so we're pretty excited about that. This little channel wasn't much when we first started it, and now we're sitting here, 4 or 5 years later, I guess, and I think that's pretty good. We really enjoy it. We're going to continue doing it. And I just wanted to tell y'all thank you. And if you got some friends or anything that are interested in leather work or just want to kind of see how things are made and stuff, tell them about our channel and tell them to subscribe. I appreciate you guys, and we'll see y'all next week in the Monday Morning Briefing.